Diaz Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye up, bye up. In a menudo style and direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button thing. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support. I'm very humbled by it. And man, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Like and subscribe. Let's go, right? So, I've been seeing videos being made about PD Boy from El Monte Flores, right? High Power Fitness. And, you know, this is an OG Southsider, man. An OG from the SGV, right? From Flores. A very well-respected audio in the LA area. And, man, I have nothing but tremendous respect for this guy and what he's trying to do to help people, to create positivity, to show change. You know, having lived that life like this man did, the word OG, right, is definitely in his handbook, man. He's definitely well respected as a veterano, and it should be considered that. You know, now, before we get into this, what I'm going to talk about here, I want to say this. For the people that are going in on the homie and bashing him because he pulled up on the Nortenos, man, and showed nothing but hospitality and respect, you know, you're boo-boo. Fakery at its finest, man. These are the type of individuals that have never put in no work or never did anything to a Norteño or even been in breathing distance of a Norteño, so they should keep their fucking mouths shut, first and foremost in particular, right? But I'll say this. The Southern car is much different from the Northern car, in and out of prison, in certain ways, right? When it comes to politics, very different. Very different. Southerners on the Southern side are allowed. They are allowed to retire, to go raise a family, to let it go, man. To still be good in the hood, to still be respected in the barrio for the work they put in and for being a part of that puzzle, but are allowed to still stay within their hometown, within their land, man, and keep doing what they do. You know, taking care of theirs and theirs only. You know, whereas on the northern side, it's different. If you choose to step away after a lifetime commitment as being a gang member, you are ostracized and considered a piece of shit and are no longer welcomed in the barrio that you grew up in. Very different, man. You could be a Norteño that strived for many years and just get out, want to take care of your family and do good. And if you run into a homeboy that you were functioning with in prison or your barrio knows about it, you are considered no good, a dropout, and a degenerate, all these different words that are coming to play, all because you've decided to step away and mature and grow up and take care of your family. That's the difference there. Whereas on the south side, they are of understanding that they have the numbers already. They have plenty of soldados willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. So you're no longer needed if you don't want to be part of the shenanigans in the reindeer games. That's just what it is. Now, I can't tell you PD Boy's story that he's going to have to tell you that. But one thing I can say about him is he is in good standings. He is well respected in his neighborhood. He still goes to all his neighborhood functions and does his thing. But he is pushing a movement on YouTube and other social media platforms. He is a fitness guru. He is trying to help people get in touch with themselves and be a better them, right? I gotta respect it. Everyone helps in their own ways. He's not like Wes Watson or the Shamurta cartel trying to bamboozle you out a gang of money to tell you how to do a fucking push-up. Nipples to the floor, nipples to the floor. He's not doing that. He's trying to teach you how to be a better you all the way around, man. Hey, and I can't knock the man. We are talking about someone who in his heyday was walking around the yard at 260, just a big old monster, right? I've heard stories. Now, this guy, you know, did his time in the 9500 block in the module with Southsiders, Gladiator Wars, Gladiator School, man, LA County Jail. You know, no one could ever take that from this guy. He's walked yards with people that were considered the hierarchy. He's done his thing. And now he's chosen to be a family man, live his life, and help other people. What's wrong with that? So the other day, PD Boy pulls up to an event he was invited to by Gold Toes, right? Julio Sanchez, Gold Toes. We all know who Gold Toes is. You know, the proprietor, the professional, the innovator, the black and brown starter, all that, man. GT Digital Movement. He's helping the raza out and everybody out. Black and brown, man, he helps, right? And him and PD Boy met over social media. He's actually a client of, you know, High Power Fitness's his program. you know, and we all know that Gold Toast tries to stay in tip-top shape. So however they met, man, and it was, you know, a match made in heaven. One guy had the game to help you with your fitness, and one guy was thirsty for the education of the fitness, and boom, they became good and fast friends. And so now, when Gold Toast has these events, you know, which he has them quite frequently, you know, he's going to invite who he considers friends, camaradas, homeboys, and people that he rubs elbows with in the industry. And so High Power Fitness was invited over the last weekend to an event that happened in Texas. Now, this event was a very formal event. You had to be presentable, dressed up, respectful. And it was an event, man, that was attended by a lot of different people. People from the gang world, people from the music industry, people from, you know, the acting industry. These are the type of people that Gold Toast rubs elbows with and associates with. He's a businessman making power moves wearing shower shoes, right? Doing his thing, pulling hoses, strippers, wearing Gucci slippers. You know, you can't hate on the fact that this man, his progression is real. It's been real, decades real. And so when High Power Fitness was invited, he was invited as, of course, a friend, and he was invited with the utmost respect. I don't think gang lines were drawn in the sand. I don't think, you know, this was a situation where he was being set up to be surrounded by Nortenos, and I heard that Tango Blast were also present in the building, as well as several Africano brothers, right? That are all friends of Gold Toast. Now, when you're invited somewhere, this reminds me of the old school hood shit. I remember in my barrio, I have a primo from A-Town, a Southsider, Sureño, right? Big old Sureño Mexicano on his chest, big old 1-3 on his calves. He watches my channel. He knows I'm telling the truth, right? I introduced him to my homeboys as my primo, as a loved one, as a real one, man. And every time he came around the barrio or was in our parties or came, and he pulled up because he wasn't no punk. Punk isn't in our family. We don't got that, right? He was treated with respect. Now, there was an understanding there that if he was out there participating in the shenanigans, getting active on the homies, they were going to get active on him. But it was all respect. It's just like when you have someone come into your barrio, they bring family members from Northern California and you're from down south, or vice versa, or whatever, man. No one's going to trip, really, because as long as they stay humbled and create the respectful atmosphere, that's what they're going to get. Now, there's been videos being made on the OG Southsider pulled up with bands, flicked it up with bands from the Rose, right? And he didn't do nothing. And they're saying that he's a coward and all kinds of different things they're saying about this OG because he didn't take care of business. First and foremost, it's not his business. Bands and Lefty Gunplay had a war of words. They disrespected each other. Bands chose to pull up to Lefty Gunplay's chante, his fucking neighborhood, and make a video, and we all know how that went. Why would anyone expect an OG that was invited to an event, a formal event, with respect as a friend, right, have to involve himself in a fucking ridiculous predicament such as what Bands and Lefty Gunplay had going on? Do people really expect this OG to go in there and throw hands with a whole bunch of Norteños, man? Or is he a sucker or a coward because he didn't do so? When meanwhile, behind the walls, Norteños and Southsiders are functioning hand in hand, having days of unity, eating spreads, selling up, getting off on the enemigos, all that together. You know, you expect a guy who didn't grow up around Norteños, who would have never even knew what a Norteño was unless he got incarcerated, which he did and did a lot of time, right? His expectations, they're not there. You know, he flicked it up with Bands. You see the thumbnail. There's a picture with him and Bands. They're in formal attire. You know, this guy, if anything, shouldn't be called a coward or a sucker. He should be very well respected. He pulled up knowing that the atmosphere he was going to could get hostile. There was a lot of Norteños in the building. It was actually a northern get down, right? And he pulled up bolo, like a sideways leaning Southsider cholo, right? With respect, you know, didn't disrespect the atmosphere, the area, or the person's home, but showed hospitality and was given hospitality. And I believe, man, that's a real one. You know, hey, not very many motherfuckers that talk shit have walked a prison yard, let alone walk a yard by themselves, right? This guy walked that yard alone that night. Okay, so yeah, he came into contact with Bands. As you can see, man, it was very respectful. They took a picture together, man. You know, I talked to this guy. He said Bands, man, treated him with the utmost respect. He didn't know bands from a fucking a glass of grape Kool-Aid. You know, unlike most of these youngsters who stay glued to social media and watch everything that's going on and want to be involved in the drama, this guy didn't know nothing about Lefty Gunplay and the beef with bands. He had no understanding of who Lefty Gunplay really is other than a rapper from Southern California. Didn't know what was going on, didn't know who Bands was, met him, was introduced, they shook hands, they took pictures together. It was all formal, it was all love, it was all respect. Respect is a key word here, right? Yet there's people making videos now saying this guy was a coward and showed a cowardice act because Bands disrespected the whole San Gabriel Valley and Lefty Gunplay's neighborhood and Lefty Gunplay in particular. So they expect the OG to go in there by himself in a hostile environment, or it could have been hostile, wasn't, it was respectful, and take flight. That's what real ones do. That's not what real ones do. Real ones do exactly what he did. He showed up with respect to the event, had a good time with his family and the family of others, and left it like that. You know, it's crazy in this world that we live in that everybody always expects other people to handle their business. You shouldn't be mad at the OG because he pulled up and showed respect. You should, if you're upset, you should be mad at Lefty Gunplay because he didn't show up to the fucking event and let Bands know what time it was. That's their own beef. That's between two gentlemen. That isn't a whole North and South beef. North and South is what it is. The crazy part is the guys in Southern California really don't have no animosity towards Norteños. The real ones, they've never even killed a Norteño or Norteños killed them. Their enemigos are their own gente, their own people. The people claiming the same number they are. That's the truth. People don't like to hear it, but I'll give you the knowledge you can't get in college. With the Norteños, it's a whole different level. Because you have Southsiders present, upstaters in Northern California, there is animosity, there is friction. But most Norteños that are really about the business and have done time, like Bands and other people, understand that the Southsiders or Sureño presence down south is totally different from the one up north. The northern one is a threat because they are invading the homeland and trying to take over a situation. Whereas down south, they're doing their own thing. There's no Norteños down there for them to worry about. So they ain't tripping. Again, prison is prison. The streets are the streets. But even in prison, there's an end of hostilities. Everybody is showing unity and respect to each other on the yard. However you slice it, dice it, and cut it, man, that's just the fucking way it is, whether you like it or you don't. It's real, okay? Did I expect OG from EMF, El Monte Flores, to go fucking take flight and act like a fucking child? Absolutely not. He did what he did as a man. He showed up and he pulled up to the event, announced, right? Hey, everybody knew he was a Southsider. Everybody knew where he was from. Everybody knew what he was about. And there was no problems. That's that northern hospitality he was given. That's the respect that he has for Goto, someone who invited him to his home, who invited him to his event, man. Had enough wherewithal knowing that it was going to be all good. And I'm sure he provided him the knowledge you can't get in college to say, hey, bro, you can come. It's going to be all love. I'll make sure nothing happens to you. That's what it is. That's just like when I went to Southern California for the fight with Cholo Trucker. I was assured, man, that it was a blessing, that I was given the blessings to go down south. As long as I created an atmosphere of respect and kept it cool with everyone, I was going to get the same palabra. And that's exactly how it went down. I got so much hospitality and love for Southerners that only gave in my mind, that only set me up to show more respect to the gente. Period. We're all brown at the end of the day. These guys that are campaigning for a brown man to beat up another brown man or go in there and get jumped by a whole bunch of brown men, bro, you should be ashamed to call yourself a brown person, right? We don't get down like that. Yes, we're involved in tribalism. Yes, we're involved in la primera lives. Let's say we're involved in all that. Who's number one? Who's number two? We're never ever going to fucking get along or agree who fucking is harder than each other because everyone thinks they're harder than everyone else. That man is doing his thing for his family and trying to help people. And I didn't expect him to do anything out of the ordinary. Now, as far as Bands disrespecting the whole SGV, you got your fools mixed up. He disrespected one person in particular and let him know exactly how he was feeling after he was disrespected. Now, I like Lefty Gunplay and I like Bands from the Rose. And I think they're entertaining. I think they're fucking very gifted and talented rappers, man. And I don't see a situation where it ends well with them over a fucking cold bowl of soup. But what I do say is these guys are respectful enough with other people to know what time it is, right? You see Lefty Gunplay apologize to the Nortenos. He apologized to the Fresno Bulldogs in the city of Fresno. He's trying to make moves, different moves, man. I looked at it yesterday. The song that he's on with Kendrick Lamar was trending on number 4 on the Billboard charts. The man's making moves. Whereas Bands, man, is doing his thing, getting his bag too, pulling up to events. And the homeboy from High Power Fitness is going to be cordial. He's going to be respectful. He knows what time it is. See, this is a man who's done time in real life, on real yards, with real Norteños. So he knows exactly what the other side of the coin is. But these guys who have never really did time, that are running their neck, hey man, this Vato's a sucker. He just pulled up and let this Vato fucking... Bands wasn't applying no pressure, and he wasn't applying no pressure either. They were there at a fucking homeboy's event showing love and respect. It's what real ones do. See, there's a time for business and a time for pleasure, and people get their fools mixed up like a Brent Woods song and don't understand that. That's because they're not educated and indoctrinated enough to understand what the real get down is. I can give it to you, you know. I say shout out to High Power Fitness for being a man. You know, if you'll never have an understanding like I have an understanding of how it feels to be by yourself, solo, be in an area where, man, hey, anything can go down at any particular time and still have to have that mascara on hard, right? It's not easy. These motherfuckers can talk behind the internet, behind a keyboard, bump baking soda breath on the door and talk all that high power shit about what they would have done or what they should have done, but they ain't done it. There ain't nothing but air and opportunity to pull up. You could have easily jumped in your fucking caruch, filled that tank up, and pulled up to Houston, Texas, where the event was held, man, and spit your game, homie. But none of that happened. You expected a man who doesn't quite particularly fucking figure into the reindeer games. We're talking about an OG, man. You know, they're calling him the landlord of EMF and just disrespecting a guy who put in more work than they could even understand or know. It's unfortunate, man, that the veteranos and the OGs that really did the thing when it was really that thing, you know, don't get as much respect as they should be given. Instead, these fucking weirdos give more support to fucking the Shamuta cartel and idiots like D. Kane over there talking to little girls. It's weird. It's just a weird world we're living in, right? But getting back to the gang world, man, I think the homeboy carried himself with the utmost respect and the utmost fucking, that's game, humps. That's real gangsterism right there. You know, like I said, man, you know, in every barrio, and you know what's the truth. And the cool part is these bumping baking soda breath fuckers know what it is. If they have a primo from up north or a bulldog or from a enemigo barrio and they bring them to their hood, they don't want their fucking primo to be touched, and their homeboys out of respect for them won't do it. Now, there are situations where motherfuckers got off where they're mad at, and that just all's well ends bad, right? Because what happens? Now your homeboys are locked up. Now your jefita's mad at you. Now you're looking like a fucking clown, humps. And your homeboys are tripping off you. You get a DP because you brought the enemy to the neighborhood. It just gets ugly, right? So stop projecting what you say you would have done or what should have been done onto a man that isn't living that life anymore, man. He's well respected and still functioning in his barrio. Still pulls up. Still is showing the respect because he has earned it. When you earn that level of respect, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But until then, all you're going to do is bump laves. Mr. Criminal. That's it. Lick him. Lick him down Fridays. That's all you're doing. So anyways, man, my utmost respect goes to High Power Fitness. I think this was a situation that was handled correctly. I think he had a good time. I talked to him on the phone. He said, hey, bro, it was a good time. There was a lot of heavy hitters there as far as in the industry, man. He got introduced to a lot of people. It helps his brand, what he's trying to create. Not a brand just to get monetized and get money, but a brand to help other people be their better selves. And that's what Gotos is involved in. They work together, man, and there is no north and south barrier. You see, northerners and southerners together, man, make green, a whole lot of it, man. When people finally get to that understanding and stop the bullshit of division, they'll understand what time it really is. Talking all that high power shit, but then going into prison and functioning alongside of the enemigo. Talking all that shit and then going inside and kicking it with the Nortenos. It makes no sense, right? And as far as the northerners, you don't see them saying that because they are of an understanding that respect is key. I have not seen any Nortenos on the internet bash bands for being in the presence of a Southsider and not doing nothing. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, hums. You know what I mean? Take a bite out of it. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that I'm saying because I'm speaking the real right now, man. Shout out to High Power Fitness. I'm going to continue to support. Make sure you guys tap into his channel because he's a real one, man. Hey, there's not a lot of dudes walking this earth that would have pulled up to a party like that, surrounded by Norteños, bands in particular that you already know has some type of animosity with Southern, with Southern artists, and just function and do his thing, man. Didn't hide who he was. Didn't try to tuck his tail. Did it with pride, like a real Mexican does, man. And I gotta respect the fuck out of that. This is the gun. Bang, bang.